Today, I'd like to talk about the various addictions that I used to have when I was a teenager, and it has only been a few years since I decided to stay sober. And the decision came from a constant urge to get out of this hopelessness, the pit of darkness that I was in, and the darkness really deprived me of the light, right? And today, I really want to mention the various addictions that I've been coping. For example, one of them was pornography, one of them was masturbation, and one of them was video games. And these are all online and somewhat recreational addictions and behaviors that I built as a habit for a long time. For more than 7-8 years, I've been accumulating this desire to free myself from all these addictions. But one of the most prominent and one of the most significant addictions that I used to suffer from was alcohol. Now, I used to be one of those people that if you drank a shot or any type of alcohol would get instantaneously intoxicated and thus have like vomitings and just pass out on the couch and just be the drained soul of the party. But then when I kept that series of parties and weekends going out with friends and drinking out, going and continuing, I fell into the joy of the release of stress hormones and dopamine signals in my brain, and I became desensitized to the pleasure that it gave me, and I always craved more. And that is the actual first step of addictions and any kind of abuse that comes from substance usage, is that you get accustomed to the euphoric effects of that substance and you keep craving for more until the side effects of that intoxication actually get you to a burnout stage. For example, while I was still in high school, I used to go out on every weekend to New York in order to drink with my friends. But the fact is that I was never a party person in my school, but outside, like when I went out to other towns, I'd become this party monger, and this party monster inside me had to feed upon these structures and these hedonistic pursuits that really deprived me in my life of any kind of blessings in the spiritual realm. I used to drink a lot of alcohol, and really the desire to purify myself from these toxic relationships with alcohol and toxic relationships amongst friends was so great, and that I really decided to go sober, cold turkey on every kind of substance 3.5 years ago. And that desire really stemmed from this pain that I was suffering from inside, but I'd always been hiding under a false facade of this superficial person who's somewhat prosperous and abundant on the outside, but actually deprived and empty on the inside. And that is what I was. I was a very depressed, anxious, and debilitated person inside, suffering from fatigue, from insomnia, from all these psychological, abnormalities. And yet, I had always hidden this part of me from the community, the friends, the church people, my family. I was too afraid to open up to any kind of psychological or professional support that I could get. I was afraid, and that fear really shook me and my roots to the ground. And it was a really bad sign for me to actually live in that dark area of my life with these various addictions and this negative cycle, this vicious cycle of depression, anxiety, and resorting to addictions was too negative and too influential in my life, and it really screwed up a lot of parts of my life. For example, I would always miss on homework assignments and school stuff, right? Academics, extracurriculars that could have led me to a better college, but I never tried my best in order to succeed academically. And that really is one of the excuses I always told myself, that I actually don't need these academic or extracurricular activities to support my self-worth. I am a very worthy self-individual who is independent from all these systems, right? And I was like very young, and the teenage rebellious mind really got a hold of me. And I was on the verge of becoming this Maverick persona that I created within the days of being a Maverick, I guess. And I believed myself to be a very sophisticated person at the time, with these drinking endeavors and these rebellious acts of smoking cigarettes, rebelling against my South Korean parents, who always forced me to study and take the SATs and become the math whiz. I always wanted to deny that part of me, and a part of me always wanted to just willingly deny the Korean roots, the South Korean roots of my academic personality, of my high IQ South Korean Asian math whiz genius, whatever. And I became this lazy, arrogant, this self-obsessed, this self-absorbed individual who really drank every day, smoked cigarettes, and played video games, and failed to meet all the high life standards and criteria for a better life. And so I fell down this rickety pit, and that really, I thought at the time, led me to the Wonderland, but it didn't. It was just a false facade of emptiness. The hedonistic pursuits that I stifled in were big mistakes, because they did not lead me to saving myself from depression or any other anxieties, but it always worsened my symptoms of fatigue, hopelessness, and sadness. And the impending chronic state of depression really debilitated me in terms of school, in terms of life, in terms of relationships, and I really had enough of it. The various addictions that I really thought were masking my life for a greater purpose or something, to connect me into a form of unity with this society, and to have all these connections with other people who are also intoxicated. It was only an illusion. And to realize that, I really came on this level of realization, this encounter with an accomplished understanding of how the world works, was when I finally realized that I was not a measure of coolness or how others perceived me, but I was only a reflection of my own desires, my own virtues, my own forms of self-acceptance. But before I realized that, I was always in this constant revelation of self-denial, and almost to the extent of self-hatred and self-loathing. It was a form of low self-esteem, and at the time I really was anxious that people would just step on the facade of me and find out that underneath the fancy covers lying down a little insecure boy with this immense teenage angst. And therefore I just not thrived within the boundaries of the social parameters that I set, and with all these social groups that I met, all these superficial, irrelevant relationships that I pursued. I always strived to become this fake version of myself, and when I really got tired of it, I told myself, let's just be honest with myself. Let's be honest and become a true version of myself. Let's revisit every fundamental core virtue of myself and maybe blast it to space and just rebuild upon core virtues that I actually set up for myself for a better life.